Joining us now over Zoom is Jimmer Fredette's head coach at BYU. The legend, Dave Rose, is with us. Coach Rose,
What's up, Dave?
One, it was great to be with you, cruising with the Cougs, and it's also great to have you back with us on BYU Sports Nation.
Yeah, that was fun. We had a good time, and actually got to spend quite a bit of time with Jimmer while we were there. But nothing was as fun as obviously spending time with you two. I mean, you guys.
There's not an ounce of sarcasm in your voice, too, which I really appreciate, Dave. I just said I didn't think I'd be as sort of sad or nostalgic as I thought I would be with this news. I kind of felt like Jimmer was done after the Olympics, but he waited a little bit. Didn't happen to tell us on the cruise this was coming. But what a career. So take us back to when you first heard about this kid. And was it BYU sports camps that he first kind of showed up to on campus?
Yeah, that's actually the whole story. I've made up a lot of different the years, but the actual true factual story is that I had one of my assistant coaches tell me, "Hey, we got a kid here in camp that is a pretty good shooter. You ought to come watch him play." And that's during the evenings. We had the way our camp was structured is that we would have 5-on-5 games, and so I went over to the to Smith Fieldhouse and actually watched him play on one of the auxiliary courts, and I watched him every game the rest of the camp. I mean, he was pretty impressive, and and then we went on and watched him every open period but we could until he actually decided he wanted to come to BYU.
How old was he when you first saw him play?
He was just finished his freshman year, so he was going into his sophomore year, and what wasn't really impressive was where he played. I mean, he played in Glens Falls, New York, in a really small school, a really small gym, but how he played was pretty impressive. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but a few years later, we had another kid come out of the same school, play at Syracuse, was a heck of a player. And, so that little gym has produced some pretty good scoring collegiate and professional players.
Dave, what do you remember about recruiting Jimmer and going to football games, for crying out loud? Because a lot of people don't remember that he was a wide receiver on the Glens Falls High School football team.
Yeah, and what I remember, I tell this story all the time when I'm with Jimmer, is that we went out. When I went out there, it was raining. It rained all day. They said, "Oh, it'll clear up. The game, it won't be raining during the game." We get to the game, it's pouring during the game, and I'm sitting in the stands, and one of the guys came and got me and let me come in the little press box that they had, and so I stood in the press box and kind of watched down on the field. But what I remember most is at the end of the game, going in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, you could really tell where Jimmer was, because all the other 21 players on the field, their uniforms were dirty and muddy and messed up. Yours was still completely white.
Get in there, Jimmer, make a tackle.
So that's my right there. Yeah, because of what when he decided to play football his senior year, everybody was just worried about one thing: is not getting hurt, and get himself into where he's ready for a senior year in basketball. But that was a pretty fun day at a night at the Glens Falls Field watching him play football. That's for sure.
How did you keep him sort of hidden? Because here is this dude from a small school, and maybe that's how. He's not super recruited. I think Utah had some interest. Siena was kind of nearby, and that was kind of it. How did you find this diamond in the rough?
Well, I could give you all kinds of, great stories, but really he found us. When he came to our BYU camp, we've recruited over the years that I was there, we recruited a few kids out of our camp, and we had some kids that we were really involved with, and we invited them to our camp, and they came. But this one, he just actually showed up. I have to give Al Fredette, his dad, all the credit, because Al was the one who signed him up for his summer schedule, and he decided that they were going to spend the first week of the summer out at BYU in our camp, and the rest of the summer we spent following him around, and the next 3 summers basically following all around the country. I saw him play in about 6 or 7 different states, and spent a lot of time on the plane getting to where he was playing those days, because a lot of the guys we played recruit on the West Coast, I saw him play in Phoenix, LA, and I saw him play in Vegas. But Jimmer was playing in Miami, in Orlando, and Florida. I mean, I was at a camp out in Pittsburgh watching him. So the 5-star camp. I mean, it was a different recruiting process for us, but we were fortunate we got him.
The legendary BYU basketball coach Dave Rose is on BYU Sports Nation. We've been discussing the legacy that Jimmer Fredette will leave behind. I know this is a loaded question, but when we're talking about legacies and Jimmer, what do you feel like that centers on, Dave?
Well, as you get older and you get away from the game a little bit, you kind of prioritize different things. But, trying to remember when I was right in the middle of coaching and trying to find players and trying to win championships and, qualify for the NCAA tournament and move on. And I mean, what that part of Jimmer, I think, is what everybody, the questions I get, what was he like? And he was as fierce of a competitor as I think, it's hard to name the best competitor, but what he was really good at is that he could really, really compete. He was really talented, but he was such a team guy. And, how do you describe a team guy when this dude took more shots than everybody, more shots than 3 or 4 combined? But he, if you saw him, at team meals, he was always sitting with another player. I mean, it wasn't the same guy. He was a team guy, and that's what I'll always remember about Jimmer, is that how engaging he was with everybody, and how Noah Hartsock and Charles Abu, I mean, all the guys, Jackson Emery and Brandon, everybody just loved to be around him. And that's not always the case with your leading scorer, and especially a guy that had so much attention that he had.
Dave, when did you realize that his usage rate needed to be higher, that you needed to put the ball in his hands, and that he would make plays to the tune of being the National Player of the Year?
Well, he told me that after. And usage rate, I don't think was a word back in those days, but what he told me was that he was coming back for his sophomore year, and that because he didn't start a game his freshman year, and he wasn't happy about that, and his mom wasn't happy about that, and I'm sure his dad wasn't happy about that. But when he came to say that he was going to work all summer and was going to put so much time in, that there is no way that you couldn't play me as your point guard. And that was kind of the before the summer speech that Jimmer gave me, because I was still trying to figure out if he was a better shooter than he was an actual, true point guard distributor, and figure out where the best place is to play him. And so he just told me, he said, I'm going to prove to you that I can score and I can be your point guard. And I'll say that, yeah, he did that. That was a good job for him. Yeah.
First team all conference that sophomore year, too. People forget, before the senior year. He was awesome. Yeah.
Dave Rose is on BYU Sports Nation. Dave, was there an individual moment or like an aha scenario for you when you first realized, holy cow, this dude is different and could potentially take us to great places? Was there like a light switch that got flipped at some point?
Well, after his sophomore year, anytime you get a first team all league player that's returning the next year, and especially when he's returning as a junior, I mean, you've got, a special player. You don't know exactly what you've got, but you've got a special player. And so after that sophomore year, I mean, we knew he was a pretty good player. And his junior year, I just was so impressed on how he worked at his craft. I mean, he just spent hours and hours and hours in the gym, in the Smith Fieldhouse. And, Tyler Haws gets a lot of the credit for us being able to actually build that practice facility. But Jimmer, he was trying to find a gym, before Tyler. and trying to find him places to work out during the summertime was such a priority for our staff, and it became a real, everyday, chore for us to try to find it. And between, those guys, I mean, we had about 6 or 7 guys in a 4-year period that really finally convinced our administration that we needed to have a separate practice facility so our guys could practice all day, all night, all year round. And Jimmer was the start of that. But he was I would say, to answer that question, that for me personally, I figured we've got a national star that is going to really have an amazing impact on the entire basketball world. Was probably midway through his senior year. It might have been the Utah game. It's so hard for our guys to really play at the highest level, their very best, in the Utah game at Utah. And when he did that at their place on their court, I think he had 30 some odd points in the first half and ended on a half court shot. And I just said, wow, this is not like anybody I've coached. And then it just went on from there. Those January, February, and March, those 3 months, he was probably about as good as anybody I've ever seen play the game.
Here's the half-court shot. It was 32 for number 32 in the first half, which is amazing. BYU requires a 15-year minimum before it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He just kind of shrugs his shoulder after he makes it.
What?
And looks around. And, there you go.
It was so good. It was so good. Yeah. BYU requires 15 years before they retire jersey. You got to be a first-team All-American. You got to contribute, all these things. Jimmer Fredette's going to have number 32 up in the rafters at some point. Maybe it's in 2026 when it's been 15 years. What's that going to be like to have his name up there with some of the greats? Because surely he is one of the greatest players ever in any sport at BYU.
Well, I'll be, really excited for him because I know how much that means to him. I just know that, he put a lot of. We put a lot of faith in him when we signed him and brought him in, but he put a lot of faith in us. And I think he's really proud of the fact that he picked one school and he put all his effort in, and he had reasons to not really, be really happy with how it was going and could have left. But he stayed with it, and it turned out to be probably as good as it would have been if he went anywhere in the country. And I think that, when the day comes that he's put into the Hall of Fame of the BYU, I think that will be really, really special for him and especially for his wife. I mean, Whitney and Jimmer are kind of a BYU icons. It was fun to watch him on the ship. I mean, it was fun for me to watch him because they all bugged him and they didn't bug me.
Oh, well said.
I will tell you this, that Jimmer's got a really bright future in front of him. It won't be as a player, but I'm so excited for the two of them. I think Whitney and Jimmer are great ambassadors for BYU and and for our athletic department. I just think that it's terrific, the future ahead of them, and we're celebrating this past today, but he's not done. He's got a lot of things he still wants to accomplish, that's for sure.
The great Dave Rose is on BYU Sports Nation. All right, Dave, as we finish up, and I know that you've shared some very personal and close things with Jimmer in your own conversations, but what is it that you want BYU fans to know as it pertains to your feelings about Jimmer Fredette, the human being?
Well, he is such a special kid. I mean, and when you take the group of guys, I mean, Charles Abuo and Jackson Emery and Noah Hartsock and, the Brandon Davies, I mean, that was such Logan Magnuson is one of my favorite all-time guys, and most BYU fans may not even remember that name. But I mean, that was that team itself was so special. But Jimmer, he just had a way of making everybody feel like they were the most important guy in the room, and he still does that today. I mean, you watch him on the boat the other day, doing camps up on the top deck, and he's meeting people every 5 minutes that he's never met. The parents know him, and the parents are trying to explain to the kids how great he is, and the kids kind of looking around, oh, who's this guy? He's a little short dude, and but he spends so much time and personalizes everything with that relationship. And I remember so many times the team would come to me in the year, late in the year, in late January through February, they would say, hey, we have got to get in the hotel a different way. I'm not going through that hotel lobby. All those people bugging me because they want to bug Jimmer, and we got to figure it out. And so we'd find ways to get in the back and get our keys and everything and get through. But Jimmer would still find his way to the front lobby and take care of those fans, because that's who he is, and that's what I'll remember the most. Is that's just how appreciative he was for those fans cheering for him, but then how he took care of the attention that he was given. Yeah.
Dave, we love and appreciate you, and thank you for spending some time with us today to look back on Jimmer's career, and we hope that you and Cheryl are doing well, and can't wait to talk hoops and BYU again, and hopefully get on a ship with you again.
Yeah, I'm happy for you guys, because, April 24th, April 25th, there's not a lot going on, and you just got something big when Jimmer decided to, send.
It helps.
When he sent out, what was it, a tweet or a text or whatever he sent out yesterday, I think we were all kind of surprised. But I do know when he hurt himself in the Olympics, he was so down and he was so sad. He had such a great run, a 2-year run in that 3-on-3, and as the best player in the 3-on-3, and then he gets to the Olympics and it doesn't work out for him. But like I said, he's had so much to celebrate, and I think will continue to do so in his career.
So many great things discussed on this program today. Dave, we appreciate the time.
Thanks,
We'll talk
Dave.
to you again soon.